Chapter 22. It was almost noon. The Devil class's students didn't expect the class of gods to prepare lunch for them. The 11 of them huddled together and took out their rations and water bags from their space pockets to replenish their energy. After they finished eating, Yi-Ching Luo calculated the time. There was about half an hour left, which was 30 minutes. She wiped her hands and stood up. Let's walk to the physical fitness training ground to digest the food. The 10 Devil class students immediately stood up. By the time the 11 of them arrived at the physical fitness training ground, it was not noon yet. There were 15 students dressed in white standing at the training ground. 3 masters stood at the outer perimeter of the training ground. When they saw Yi-Ching Luo and the rest rushing over before the time limit, their faces revealed a look of astonishment. It was especially so for the fatty teacher. His tiny eyes were like slits, but one could see the surprise in the depths of his sparkling eyes. He had personally brought the Devil class's students to the actual combat training forest. He was the clearest about the terrain there. Because these students had clearly remembered the directions of the few small paths in the class of gods. He had purposely brought along a winding path in the actual combat training forest. He didn't specifically say that he wouldn't be picking them up for the afternoon training. He just wanted to test if the Devil class's students' memory was really heaven-defying to be able to remember all the terrain. Fatty Master was sure. Even if the students from the class of gods were here, they might not be able to remember the exit of the forest clearly. But the Devil class's students did it. Moreover, he did it without any difficulty at all. Sorry to have kept you waiting. Yi-Ching Luo saw quite a number of people standing at the training ground the moment she arrived and immediately led the students forward. Fatty Master's fats trembled. No problem, you all arrived within the stipulated time. Yi-Ching Luo smiled modestly. Master Shenqing lifted his eyelids lazily. Speaking of which, little fellows, have you had your lunch? Fatty old man's special training is very brutal. If you haven't had your lunch, you might die of exhaustion on the training ground. My special training is brutal? What nonsense are you talking about? Fat Master stared fiercely at teacher Shenqing before shifting his vision onto Yi-Ching Luo and the rest. But what that old man said is right. If you haven't had your lunch, you should hurry up and eat now. The special training in the afternoon is more physical, and if you haven't completed the mission, you are not allowed to leave the training ground and you are not allowed to eat. Do you hear me? Yi-Ching Luo continued to smile modestly. We have already eaten our rations. Thank you for your concern. We understand the rules of the special training, and we have no objections. The way the 3 masters looked at the Devil class was getting weirder and weirder. This foreign class of students was really different from the previous years. Such a student. Why would he be in the Devil class with the reputation of trash class 1? Since everyone is here, let's start the special training now. Students, stand properly. The fat teacher looked at the few of them and suddenly shouted. Then, he raised his hand and pointed towards the direction of the Devil class students. All of you, stand over there. He then pointed to where the students of the class of gods were standing. The Devil class's students walked over. Before they got close, they heard Yan Yu's sarcastic voice. Stay away from us, a bunch of trash, don't drag down our class of gods. The Devil class's students stopped in their tracks. Tong Zi-Qing raised her beautiful eyes and her icy cold gaze swept past Yan Yu's face. Chapter 22. Yan Yu was pierced by her gaze and her beautiful face twisted into a hideous expression. You useless thing. How dare you look at me like that? Believe it or not, I will dig your eyes out. Tong Zi-Qing's lips curled into a smile which didn't look like a smile as she sneered. The quality of the students in the class of gods really makes me look at you differently. What did you say? The students behind Yan Yu bellowed angrily. Tong Zi-Qing's red lips twitched in disdain as she said word by word. It seems that not only the quality of the students in the class of gods is worrisome, their brains aren't that good either. Trash from the Devil class. You. Tong Zi-Qing's words made the students in the class of gods fly into a rage. In the eyes of the students in the class of gods, this bunch of students from the Devil class were just a bunch of lowly ants, a bunch of useless things. They couldn't be bothered to have any friction with these ants and useless things. This bunch of useless things weren't worthy of their attention. But Tong Ziqing's words were obviously looking down on the class of gods. They, the dignified students of the class of gods, were actually humiliated by a piece of trash. But just as Yan Yu and a few familiar students were about to teach the devil class a lesson, Teacher Yi bellowed in a deep voice, "Enough. What are you all doing?" This bellow made the students in the class of gods restrain their temper unwillingly. They stared at the devil class students with hatred before retracting their gaze and lowered their heads, obediently not daring to say another word. Teacher Yi frowned as he swept his gaze across the students in the class of gods. Following that, his gaze fell onto Tong Ziqing. "This student, you came to the class of gods to undergo special training. If you don't have the heart to undergo special training, my class of gods will not be able to accommodate you." "Teacher." Si Minghan stood out from the class of gods student area and called out in a low voice. But he was stared back by Teacher Yi's fierce glare. Tong Ziqing remained expressionless, as though she wasn't affected at all by Teacher Yi's words. This nonchalant look made Teacher Yi feel a surge of anger. Just as he was about to open his mouth, he saw Yi Qing Luo walking slowly towards Tong Ziqing. The corners of her lips curled up and she smiled calmly. "Teacher Yi, what Ziqing said actually makes sense." Teacher Yi's face darkened. Yi Qing Luo didn't seem to have noticed, or perhaps she had noticed, but she didn't care much and continued, "Class of Gods students are the brightest glory of the Heavenly Academy, representing the existence of the entire Heavenly Academy." As a representative student of the Heavenly Academy, she had such a low quality and was always arrogant. "It's fine within the academy, but if this gets out, wouldn't we become a laughing stock? Students from the class of gods are spoiled and arrogant." Yi Qing Luo's voice wasn't loud, but it wasn't soft either. He spat out each word slowly and steadily. The words that entered his ears couldn't be any clearer. Teacher Yi opened his mouth but found himself unable to refute Yi Qing Luo's words. It was a fact that Yan Yu was the first to provoke the devil class students. Indeed, it was Yan Yu who was too arrogant. The class of gods was in the wrong here. "There's one more thing." Yi Qing Luo's smile grew brighter and brighter. Her charming eyes glowed brilliantly and flowed with light, causing her charming and drop-dead gorgeous face to seem like a blooming rose, and she emitted an unparalleled charm that captivated the soul. She stared unblinkingly at the students from the class of gods. She was obviously so charming and alluring. But the students from the class of gods could sense the contempt and ridicule from Yi Qing Luo's smile. Chapter 22-24. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly as she slowly opened her mouth. "From what I see, the students in the class of gods have occupied the school's abundant resources, which resulted in your current ability. I wonder where did you get your sense of superiority from, feeling that you're a cut above the rest?" She paused for a moment and dragged the last syllable as she ridiculed coldly, "Oh? Is it from the fact that you have many times more abundant resources than the other students, that you find a sense of superiority?" "You?" Yan Yu stared at Yi Qing Luo as her petite body trembled in anger. Yi Qing Luo smiled brilliantly. "Don't be in a hurry to fly into a rage out of humiliation. This student, as a member of the devil class, I have to be very serious and solemn to tell you something. Just like what Teacher Yi said, our devil class came to the class of gods for a month of special training. As outsiders, we are not so silly as to have any conflict with the students of the class of gods when we just arrived. I think there shouldn't be anything in our devil class that is worth a student of the class of gods like you to waste your time to ridicule and humiliate us, right? Of course, even if you have this time, it doesn't mean that the other students have this time, nor does it mean that our devil class has this time. I sincerely hope that this student, you can stand on the reputation of the class of gods and stop wasting everyone's time, alright?" Yi Qing Luo's voice was sweet and her tone was calm, with a gentle and courteous smile. Yan Yu was so angry that her pretty face twisted. You lowly trash. How dare you humiliate me? I want Yan Yu." Teacher Yi's face was steely green as he berated her. Did Yenyu feel that she had not embarrassed herself enough? Although Yi Qing Luo's words were too targeted, but every word and sentence she said was irrefutable. They were the students of the class of gods. They were the high and mighty class of gods. Did they need to waste their training time to humiliate a foreign class? This was not only a waste of everyone's time. It was also a disgrace to the class of gods. Yen Yu's face turned ashen when she was berated by Teacher Yi. She pursed her lips in grievance and lowered her head, not daring to say another word. The entire training ground fell into a dead silence. After Teacher Yi finished his roar, he turned his gaze towards Yi Qing Luo. In his mind, he was still thinking about how to reprimand Yi Qing Luo. But he saw Yi Qing Luo's slender brows slightly raised, her clear and charming eyes. Her face was like a bottomless cold lake, suffused with traces of chilliness. She smiled sweetly and said, "Teacher Yi, since that student knows his mistake, we, the devil class, are not narrow-minded people. Let's forget about today's provocation. Don't waste everyone's special training time." Yi Qing Luo. Yen Yu was so infuriated that his entire body was trembling. That bitch. What right did that little slut have to say that he would forgive her? He even flattered himself? Not a petty person? In other words, were the class of gods petty people? Teacher Yi was also rendered speechless by Yi Qing Luo's words. Seeing this, the other two teachers cleared their throats. Yes, yes, yes. Don't delay the special training. Put aside any personal matters. It's time for the special training now. Chapter 22-25. That was to say, no matter how much the devil class's students could withstand, they would undergo special training according to the physical qualities of the students in the class of gods. On this point, the high profound class 2 students who had come to the class of gods for special training also followed the same method. Of course, those students of high profound class 2 were carried out of the special training every day. In the eyes of the devil class students, a bright ray of light shot out. They were eager to try and smiled, "All right. Teachers, please try your best to train us." The students in the class of gods were infuriated by Yi Qing Luo's words. Hearing the devil class's students reply, their lips twitched in disdain. Now they agreed to it. Later on, they would have a good time. A bunch of waste. How dare they try to compare with the class of gods? Just as both parties were in formation, Ni Ruopan suddenly thought of something as she weakly raised her arm and looked at Teacher Yi in embarrassment. "That's right, teacher, I have a question." "Speak." Teacher Yi spat out one word expressionlessly. We will be staying in the training forest for the next month. Then, after the special training, where should we go? To clean ourselves up. Ni Ruopan expressed that this question was very important to a lady. Teacher Yi's face sunk slightly. They hadn't even started the special training and they were already thinking about how to clean themselves up after the training? If they were so fond of looking pretty, then why did they join the special training? Seeing Teacher Yi's displeased expression, Yi Qing Luo pulled Ni Ruopan over and whispered, "Elder Yun Duan said that after the special training mission is over, we can return to the devil class." Although her voice was low. But Yen Yu, who was standing on the other side of the class of gods, heard it clearly. Immediately, he couldn't hold it in as he sneered, "The special training mission is over? Do you think the class of gods is the same as your waste class's training method?" Not only Yen Yu, the other students in the class of gods also looked at the devil class with ridicule. Even Teacher Yi sneered. Yen Yu glanced at Yi Qing Luo in disdain. "You're right about one thing. Class of gods is a cut above the rest. We are the most elite students in the academy. Not only do we have more resources than you, the training we have received has also far surpassed yours. The special training of our class of gods is not that easy to complete. To be honest, even the students in our class might not be able to complete the special training tasks given by the teachers on time," another student from the class of gods said, pretending to be kind. Previously, the elite students of high profound class 2 were all carried down from this training ground. For your devil class to be able to get first place this year, it was all because of luck. Do you really think that just because you got first place, you're invincible? As students of the class of gods, I would like to give you a piece of advice. There is always someone better out there, so don't be too arrogant. Ha 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 ha, the students of the class of gods were full of disdain. Although the students of the class of gods couldn't be bothered to waste their breath on these useless people. But thinking of what Yiqing Luo said earlier, it was indeed a slap on the class of gods' face. Hearing Yiqing Luo mention that the special training mission had ended and she still had to return to devil class. They could not help but laugh. Even for them, they might not even have the strength to move after completing the special training tasks set by the teachers. This bunch of useless people actually fantasized that they could complete the special training mission. The students of High Profound Class 2 were carried down from the training ground, but it doesn't mean that we will be carried down. Chapter 22-26. Class of Gods students looked at Yiqing Luo in disdain. At this point in time, she still wanted to be stubborn? Following that, Yiqing Luo's next sentence made their faces turn green. You may not complete the mission on time, but it doesn't mean that we can't. Yiqing Luo smiled faintly. Outstanding temperament, peerlessly beautiful appearance. Plus the confidence when she said this. It was inexplicable, which made them believe that she would definitely be able to complete these special training missions. Yan Yu was the first to recover from Yiqing Luo's aura. Her face was filled with emotions. Yiqing Luo, I know you are very arrogant in the academy, but this is the class of God, please restrain your arrogance. Yiqing Luo raised her brows and gave Yan Yu a meaningful look. From the moment Yan Yu called out her name, she had been suspicious. How did this Yan Yu student from the class of gods know her name? Moreover, he had a deep hatred for her. Now hearing Yan Yu talk about her in the academy, Yiqing Luo roughly understood. Yan Yu should have left the class of God and heard about her. But class of God students had always felt that they were on top, a cut above others. In their eyes, students from other classes in the Heavenly Academy were lowly ants. Because of this, students from the class of God disdained to leave the class. As for the matters in the Heavenly Academy, they rarely went to understand. Only Zi Qianqian, who liked to be in the limelight and enjoyed the feeling of being surrounded by the stars, would make use of his identity as a student of the class of God to flaunt his prowess in the Heavenly Academy. Thinking of Zi Qianqian, Yiqing Luo's gaze towards Yan Yu flickered slightly. This Yan Yu knew her and specially inquired about her matters in the academy. Could it be because of Zi Qianqian? Otherwise, why was he targeting her from the start? Si Minghan suddenly took small steps over. He took a look at the silent Tong Ziqing and lowered his voice to Yiqing Luo. Student, on account of the little beauty, let me remind you that in the class of God, the masters love to train arrogant and disobedient people. So no matter how well you do in the Heavenly Academy, this is after all the class of God. Although his words were directed at Yiqing Luo. However, his eyes were fixed on Tong Ziqing and did not move away. The reason why he reminded them was not because he cared about the consequences of the devil class. He was only worried. The arrogance of the devil class would only harm the little beauty. Yiqing Luo smiled without saying a word. Back then, every student who entered the class of gods was extremely arrogant. In their eyes, they were favored by the heavens and possessed innate talent that surpassed ordinary people. That's why they were arrogant and prideful. However, after the training, whether it is their temperament or self-esteem, they will be completely eroded by the training. The fat teacher, who had been silent all this while, broke into a smile. The two chubby chunks of meat swayed back and forth. I'm very curious, after a month, how much of your arrogance has remained. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as her long and narrow eyes sparkled with brilliant luster. For some reason, her body emitted a chilling aura, as if it could freeze everything in the surroundings into frost. She smiled sweetly and charmingly, as if she was in a dream. We shall wait and see. The scene was once again silent. The gazes of the three masters all fell on the students of the devil class. Those students from the class of God were also stunned by the aura released by Yiqing Luo. Wasn't this devil class student a little too arrogant? Chapter 22-27. Was it the arrogance of overconfidence? Or was it the arrogance of ability? All the answers would be revealed in the special training. The special training to raise one's ability was still the same. No matter if it was to raise the profound grade or the profound heart jade grade, or whatever. The core of the special training was still the foundation. Hence, under the nonsense of the devil class, Fatty Teacher's first order was to carry a heavy load and run 50 kilometers. This made the students in Class of God's expressions turn ugly. Usually, their training program was only 30 kilometers of cross-country with weights. Now there was an additional 20 kilometers for no reason. Apparently it was because of Devil Class's challenge which caused everyone to suffer. The students in Class of God had grievances in their hearts, but they didn't dare to show it, nor could they complain about being tired. This was a matter of pride for the Class of God. But when they looked towards Devil Class's side, the 11 of them sat calmly as they warmed up. They didn't panic at all because of the number, 50 kilometers. As though they were not running 50 kilometers, but 5 kilometers. The students of the Class of Gods were instantly stimulated. Could this bunch of Devil Class's students be so useless that they didn't even know how far 50 kilometers was? Did they know what 50 kilometers meant? And it was carrying weights. A pile of gravity belts was thrown in front of them. Fatty Teacher stared at Devil Class's students without blinking. Each gravity belt is 20 kilograms. Today is Devil Class's first time participating in the special training. Just tie one for each of your hands and legs. 20 kilograms for one for each of the 4 limbs, that was 80 kilograms, which was equivalent to 160 caddies. To the students of the Devil Class, these were nothing much. After all, when they were training in Yiqing Luo's hands, he had gone through special training that was even more difficult than this. Towards Fatty Teacher's request, they naturally didn't panic. Let them try to be brave. Yan Yu snorted in disdain as she speedily tied the gravity belts and walked to the side of the training ground, queuing up for Fatty Teacher's orders. After Si Minghan tied the gravity belts, he walked to Tong Ziqing. Little beauty, if you can't run anymore, come look for me, I can carry you. As he spoke, he even raised his eyebrows at Tong Ziqing. Tong Ziqing's face was cold. She glanced at him and then lowered her head to concentrate on tying the gravity belt. She didn't even have the mood to answer him. Si Minghan was not discouraged. Instead, he smiled brightly and squatted down. I mean it. A 50-kilometer race is not good for a woman's body. Even if you can last until the end, I can't bear to let you finish the race. I will wait for you at the front. Tong Ziqing still didn't pay attention to him. Her face remained cold. Jean, that lad seems to really care about our Ziqing. Yiqing Luo intentionally poked Long Yun Zhan's shoulder, indicating him to look towards Tong Ziqing's direction. She didn't suspect that Si Minghan had a motive for getting close to Tong Ziqing. It could be seen that Si Minghan's feelings for Tong Ziqing were sincere. In front of others, he looked lazy and sloppy, but in front of Tong Ziqing, he was serious. Love at first sight, what boundless youth. Long Yun Zhan merely shot a glance at Tong Ziqing's direction and turned his head over, looking at the gravity belt tied around Yiqing Luo's wrist. Chapter 22-28. Yiqing Luo was stunned. Follow her? Are you sure? Long Yun Zhan replied indifferently, otherwise? Otherwise, all right, if Tong Ziqing really liked Si Minghan, then he could only follow Tong Ziqing. But what was Long Yun Zhan trying to do with his indifferent attitude? Didn't he seem to care a lot about Tong Ziqing in the morning? Yiqing Luo didn't have time to ponder over this question. Fatty Master had already given the order for them to head towards the actual combat training forest, go around the forest, and start the load running. After 2 rounds of the actual combat training forest, it was exactly 50 kilometers. Class of Gods students didn't want to lose their high and mighty face in front of the waste class, so naturally they were the first to bear the brunt and rushed to the front. The devil class students didn't intentionally chase after them, but followed behind Yi Qing Luo and started jogging. After the students had run far away, Master Shen Qing, who had been resting with his eyes closed, lazily opened his eyelids. The devil class students look as if 50 kilometers is nothing to them. The two masters remained silent for a while. Indeed, they could clearly feel it. After they said the figure of 50 kilometers, the class of God students all drew in a breath of cold air. The devil class students were so calm that it was as if they were 5 kilometers. Fatty Master expressed a sense of defeat. That young lady called Yi Qing Luo is very eye-catching. Fatty Master touched his chin. If she can really complete the first load training, I will observe her carefully for the rest of the time. Interested in her? Master Shen Qing raised his brows, but I'm afraid you won't enter her eyes. Before Fatty Master opened his mouth, Master Yi had already snorted coldly. That young lady called Yi Qing Luo has been racking her brains to build a relationship with our class of gods. If she knew that fat old man has taken a liking to her, how could she not agree? TSK, old E, why do I hear a hint of jealousy in your tone? Are you jealous? Master Shen Qing teased as he got closer to Master E. Master E was annoyed. How could I be jealous of that young lady? Her character is not good. No matter how strong she is, I won't take a liking to her. I didn't say it was student Yi Qing Luo. Master Shen Qing smiled slyly at him. Enough. The fat master impatiently stopped the two from bickering. Oldie, what did you just say? Yi Qing Luo, that young lady racked her brains to enter the class of gods. What do you mean by moral integrity? He indeed had a huge interest in Yi Qing Luo. This was the most imposing woman he had ever seen in the lower realms. Her confidence and her flamboyance made people involuntarily submit to her. If he was properly nurtured. In time to come, even if he went to the upper realm, he would definitely be a well-known figure. Teacher Yi's face was cold as he repeated what Yi Qing Luo had said to him during their first meeting. He continued, we all know the ghost doctor's temper. He's always been afraid of trouble. How could he accept a medicine master who hasn't even reached the level of a grandmaster apothecary? The ghost doctor's disciple? Teacher Shen Qing and fat teacher's expressions changed slightly. What's the matter? Teacher Yi was puzzled. I heard that the ghost doctor had indeed accepted a disciple in the academy, and that old man Gue Yu is also eyeing the ghost doctor's disciple. Chapter 22-29. Don't forget, there's another one who is very interested in student Yi Qing Luo. Master Shen Qing lazily glanced at the two masters. You haven't forgotten Bai Mei's expression when she saw Yi Qing Luo, right? The two masters looked at each other and suddenly felt that this year's batch of students from the class of devils would cause the peace in the class of gods to vanish. After the load running started, the devil class students maintained a uniform speed and ran forward in an orderly manner. Very soon, they arrived at the actual combat training forest. The students from the class of God were far ahead and were expressing their disdain towards the devil class students. Thinking of the devil class students, they must be crying for their parents, unable to even move a single step. But when one of the students from the class of God turned around, he discovered that just about 20 to 30 steps away from them, the devil class students were running step by step. There wasn't any wobbling as they imagined, unable to even walk steadily. They weren't sprawled on the ground, unable to move as they imagined. They ran steadily, without the slightest hindrance. Could it be that they had cheated and removed the gravity belt? That was impossible. The teachers would use a special secret technique to monitor their training. If the devil class students dared to cheat, the masters should have appeared to reprimand them and given them a warning. This bunch of trash, carrying a load of 80 kilograms of gravity belt, and they could still run? They must be putting on a brave front. The path in the forest was extremely steep and there were various checkpoints set up. For example, climbing, drilling holes, hanging ropes and other small things. What's more, there were arrays and mechanisms in the inner part of the forest. These things were not known to the Devil class students. By then, the Devil class students would definitely not have the energy to run. The students from the class of God retracted their gaze and started to dash forward with all their might in an attempt to widen the distance between the two classes. There were many magical beasts in the actual combat training forest. During the load running period, there would also be magical beasts coming over to harass them. Yiqing Luo had been leading the Devil class students, taking small steps behind the students from the class of God, maintaining the most appropriate distance. Because of this, the magical beasts and whatnot were all dealt with by the class of God students. After dealing with 4 to 5 magical beasts, the students from the class of gods reacted and glared at the students from the class of devils who were standing about 20 steps behind them, cursing them for being shameless. Yan Yu laughed coldly and mocked, "You are indeed a bunch of trash. You only know how to invest and use tricks. You want to use our strength to complete this mission. You sure have a good plan. Only a fool wouldn't make use of resources." Yiqing Luo calmly curled her lips without the slightest bit of embarrassment. "After all, there are so many guards protecting our safety." Guards? The faces of the students from the class of gods turned ashen. The Devil class students actually treated them as guards. "Let's see how you're going to follow us now." The student from the class of gods sneered. Soon after, they all rushed into the lush forest and disappeared in the blink of an eye. "Kitty, go chase after them." Kitty Lee's small body came out from behind, and was about to rush in the direction where they disappeared. Its little tail was caught by Yiqing Luo. Kitty Lee gave a meow as she hugged her own tail and turned her head to look at Yiqing Luo. "Sister, Kitty Lee won't be able to catch up if we're late." Chapter 22:30. They were here for the class of gods special training. Everything was done by the class of gods. What was the point of their special training? Of course she had to think of a way to piss off the class of gods students and lead her own class's students on their own. But we don't know the way here. Ruopan surveyed the surroundings. The fat teacher led them through the path of the combat training forest and towards the place where they could rest. Yiqing Luo smiled. "The unknown is the best special training. In future, you will meet with all kinds of accidents. Even if you are in an unfamiliar place, you must learn to quickly find the most accurate exit." Devil class's students remained silent for a moment and nodded their heads vigorously. "We understand." The 11 of them continued forward. Fatty Master gave them a time limit of 9 o'clock, which was before 9 o'clock in the evening. They had to cross 50 kilometers and return to the physical fitness training ground. During this period of time, they had to keep on fighting against the Devil class. Keep on crossing all the obstacles. They couldn't stop, couldn't rest. Time gradually passed by a few hours. The sky had turned dark. Devil class's students were gradually feeling the strain. Previously, they had gone through such a high level of training. But it didn't take that long. 30 kilometers of load running was what they could accept. 50 kilometers was too much for them to bear. After dealing with a magical beast, Ruopan was panting so much that she couldn't even speak. Tong Zi Qing wiped the sweat off her forehead. "Qing Luo, we have already run for 35 kilometers and killed a total of 24 magical beasts. If this goes on, our brother's stamina might not be able to keep up." They were not only carrying the 80-kilogram load belt, and the load belt that they had always worn on their bodies. The lowest was 50 kilograms and the highest was 100 kilograms. The weight on each of them was not just 80 kilograms. Everyone has worked hard. Hang on a little more, there are still 15 kilometers left. After we finish the last 15 kilometers, we can sit down and rest. Yiqing Luo panted. She knew that she could continue to hang on. But for her brothers, they might have reached their limit. Especially after such a long period of exhaustion, the rations they had for lunch had long been digested. Both physically and mentally exhausted, but they couldn't take a break. Because, they were very clear. Although the 3 headmasters had never appeared by their side. But they definitely have their own way of monitoring everything that happens in the forest. If they stop to rest. The special training this time was equivalent to a failure. The last 15 kilometers. Everyone, hold on. Long Yunjian shouted in a deep voice, "We don't know the exact strength of the students from the class of gods, nor do we know how many kilometers they've run, so we have to persevere until the end and finish 50 kilometers. Long Yunjian's prestige as the class monitor caused the other students' spirits to involuntarily be roused. Long Yunjian continued, "We don't want to be fast, we just want to be steady. We just want to finish the race and complete our first special training mission since we came to class of God." The students gritted their teeth and took a deep breath. That's right. You don't need to be faster than the students from the class of gods to complete the 50-kilometer weight-bearing cross-country run. He just wanted to persevere and complete the entire journey. This was their special training. It wasn't just that they didn't want the students of the class of gods to look down on them. Chapter 22:31. Long Yunjian's encouragement made Devil Class's students perk up as they dragged their increasingly heavy bodies and ran forward with all their might. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she looked at Long Yunjian with interest. This lad usually didn't utter a single word. Now he knew how to encourage his brothers. And he even specially mentioned the class of gods. Others might not have heard it. But Yiqing Luo heard it clearly. Long Yunjian didn't want to lose to the class of gods. This sudden battle intent. Was it because he was unhappy with the class of gods? Or was it because of Si Minghan? The night had darkened once again. In the dense forest, there wasn't a single ray of light. Only in the surroundings of the forest, separated by a long distance, would there be a luminous pearl. In the dense forest, indistinctly, there was an extremely weak glow. The students of the class of gods had long gone on their own, pulling a long distance apart. The ones walking in front were Si Minghan, Yanyu, and a female student and 2 male students following behind Yanyu. Through the direction of the luminous pearls, Yanyu was sweating profusely as she panted heavily, We should be arriving soon." The female student Yi Luo's legs turned into jelly as she held on to her breath and followed beside Yanyu, as though she was comforting herself and also answering Yanyu, "Soon. We are only left with 5 kilometers. The last 5 kilometers. They had run for 45 kilometers. Although the time was nearing 9 o'clock. But they were the last 5 kilometers. As long as they completed the entire journey. Even if they were a little late, it didn't matter. Yanyu shook her sweaty eyelashes as her forehead was filled with perspiration, causing the strands of hair on her forehead to stick together. She panted heavily as she laughed softly, "All right. We'll be there soon." Devil class, that bunch of trash, absolutely. Absolutely cannot finish the entire journey. Yi Luo nodded her head repeatedly. That bunch of trash can only run 10 to 20 kilometers and that's already their limit. Moreover, they have to bear the 80-kilogram gravity belt. No matter how awe-inspiring they are in the Heavenly Academy, when they come to our class of gods, they're just trash. Yan Yu's eyes were filled with joy as she laughed complacently. Right, no matter how awe-inspiring the bunch of trash were in the Heavenly Academy. Now, they were standing on the turf of the class of gods. That was an ant. He was trash. Save your energy. You might not be able to last the last 5 kilometers. Si Minghan's voice was hoarse as he glanced at Yanyu coldly. If not for the actual combat training, the magical beasts in the forest were too ferocious. He couldn't be bothered to waste too much energy killing demonic beasts. He really didn't want to run with these gossipy and narrow-minded classmates. Yanyu and Si Minghan had never gotten along. At this moment, hearing Si Minghan's sarcasm, Yanyu's face was filled with mockery. Whether or not we can hold on is not student C's concern. However, I believe that the trash that student C is worried about is definitely unable to hold on. Si Minghan was in the God class. He was talented and had the care of teacher Shenqing. Yanyu had always been jealous of Si Minghan. Especially now that he saw Si Minghan trying to curry favor with a useless girl from a useless class. She felt embarrassed. There was also a ball of nameless fire in his heart. He wanted to mock Si Minghan. Let Si Minghan know how shameful it was to love a piece of trash. Chapter 22:32. Yan Yu stared at his hands, her eyes blazing. Trash will always be trash. They can't even complete one round of training, how can they be fit to train with us? Her voice was extremely sharp and harsh. Si Minghan frowned in annoyance. It's not just the devil class who can't complete the training. There are at least a few students in the class who can't complete it. The distance between them and the students from the class of God behind them was getting further and further. Although they would undergo this kind of training every day. But this was their first time going through such a long-distance training of 50 kilometers. Because of this, the students from the class of God couldn't take it anymore after running for more than 30 kilometers. A few of the students from the class of God had set their goal of running 40 kilometers. Because of this, when Yan Yu heard Si Minghan's words, her expression changed. She suppressed her anger and sneered disapprovingly, "Ha! Even if the students from the class of God can't complete it, they can at least run 40 kilometers. That bunch of trash from the devil class, it's already not bad if they can run 20 kilometers." She snorted coldly, turned her head and continued to run with all her might. Only the last 5 kilometers. At the end, they would be the first students to complete the entire course. What right did the devil class have to challenge them? On what basis did they think they could win against the class of God? Si Minghan frowned, looked at Yan Yu and the other students, and moved his heavy footsteps, jogging forward. He clenched his fists tighter. Suddenly, he turned his head and ran in a different direction. Si Minghan. Hearing the sound, Yan Yu turned her head and glared in Si Minghan's direction. "The last 5 kilometers, don't tell me you're giving up." Looking at Si Minghan's running speed, it was obvious that he had extra energy. To Si Minghan, although 50 kilometers was strenuous, he could barely complete it. But, Si Minghan actually turned his head and ran back. And as he ran, he took off the weights on his hands and feet. He violated the rules of the special training and gave up on this training? Did he know that he would be punished for disobeying the teacher's orders? Yan Yu leaned against a nearby tree, gasping for breath as he stared in the direction that Si Minghan had disappeared. There seemed to be an ice-cold venomous snake crawling in his heart. His eyes were cold and gloomy, as if they were dipped in poison. Yi Luo gritted her teeth in anger. That bunch of people from devil class, not only are they trash, they're also vixens. They actually seduced Si Minghan to the point that he lost his mind, to the point that he doesn't even care about the training this time. The 2 male students at the side nodded repeatedly. A person who doesn't care about himself for the sake of a woman won't be able to achieve great things. Isn't it just a piece of trash? He actually went back to look for that piece of trash himself. Perhaps that woman has already been carried down. The 3 of them spoke one after another. Their original intention was to humiliate Si Minghan and the bunch of trash in devil class, to make Yan Yu happy. Unexpectedly, Yan Yu's face became more and more unsightly. Yi Luo gave the 2 male students a look, signaling them to shut up. Yi Luo carefully held onto Yan Yu's arm and said in a low voice, "Yan Yu, Si Minghan voluntarily gave up on the training. It has nothing to do with us. What we need to do now is to immediately finish the last 5 kilometers and give devil class trash a show of strength." Yan Yu clenched her fingers. She retracted her gaze hatefully, no longer paying attention to the direction that Si Minghan had disappeared to. Chapter 22:33. Si Minghan ignored Yan Yu's advice and insisted on leaving. In the last 5 kilometers, Yan Yu burst out with unprecedented potential. Gritting her teeth, she persisted and rushed out of the actual combat training forest. However, at this moment, an extremely loud and clear bell tolling resounded throughout the entire sky. Yan Yu's body stiffened and her face turned pale. That was the sound of the bell indicating that it was time. Now, it was already past the hour. In other words, they didn't complete the special training within the allotted time. Yan Yu, it's alright. Even if we didn't finish within the allotted time, the other students didn't either. At least we are the first batch to finish the 50 kilometers. Yi Luo comforted her softly. Other than them, there was no one else in the class of gods. Even if they didn't finish within the allotted time, that was still the first place. Yan Yu took a deep breath. That's right. No matter what, she finished the entire distance as a sign of respect for the teacher's special training. She gritted her teeth, took a deep breath and rushed towards the direction of the physical training field. Soon, they arrived at the training field. 3 masters were standing in the middle of the huge training ground, discussing something with each other. Their expressions were extremely solemn, as if they were arguing about something. Yan Yu looked around. There were no other students on the training field. She was the first to finish the entire distance and arrive at the training field. The corners of her lips curled up uncontrollably into a smug smile. She shook off Yi Luo's hand and walked forward with weak steps. Yan Yu did not speak first because she wanted to attract the attention of the 3 masters and let them praise her. But the 3 teachers were arguing more fiercely. They didn't even notice Yan Yu's approach. Yan Yu was completely ignored by the 3 headmasters. She bit her lower lip and swayed for a long time, realizing that the 3 teachers had no intention of paying attention to her. She was about to remind them. But she vaguely heard the teachers arguing, as if she heard the devil class and Yi Luo's name. But before she could listen carefully, she heard Fat Master coughing violently. Student Yan Yu, you also completed the 50 kilograms of weight run, right? Although it was a little late, but your determination to finish the 50 kilometers is worth learning. The voices of the other 2 teachers stopped arguing. When they looked at Yan Yu again, a kind smile appeared on their faces. Yan Yu felt a chill down his spine from the laughter of the 3 teachers. Why, she didn't feel that Fatty Master was happy because she ran 50 kilometers. Furthermore, what did the word also mean? Yan Yu did not have time to think. The fat teacher had already called for them to go to the side and ask teacher Shinqing for a water bag. The few of them were drenched in sweat from running and were about to fall to the ground. As soon as he heard about the water bag, he immediately pulled Yan Yu to look for Master Shinqing to get the water bag. After receiving 4 water bags, they gathered together and drank all the water in the bag. Seeing Yan Yu's unhappy expression, Yi Luo comforted, Yan Yu, don't think too much about it. You're the first student to complete a 50-kilometer weight-bearing cross-country run. This is also our first time running such a long distance. The headmaster must be too excited. Yan Yu gripped the water bag in his hand tightly, his eyes filled with ruthlessness. How could she not feel the headmaster's excitement? Those 3 old men actually didn't even have a word of praise. Chapter 22:34. Now, she had finally completed it. But she was just late by a little bit. Those 3 old men actually treated her in this way. Yan Yu, didn't Devil Class's student called Yi Luo say that they would not be carried out of the training forest and would definitely complete all the special training? No one from their class has appeared on the training grounds. The male student could tell the dissatisfaction and resentment in Yan Yu's heart. He hurriedly directed the topic towards Devil Class. As expected, Yan Yu's anger was directed towards Devil Class's students. She gripped the water bag tightly and fiercely threw it on the ground. The corners of her mouth curled into a cold sneer. That group of trash is just relying on their ignorance to spout nonsense. Just based on a group of trash like them, I can easily pinch them to death with a flick of my finger. Seeing that Yan Yu's attention was diverted, Yi Luo immediately nodded her head in agreement. That's right, that's right. We are the first to complete 50 kilometers of load-bearing cross-country. Even if Devil Class really has students who completed 50 kilometers, they would be after us. I don't know where they got their faces from to challenge us, now they're kicked to the cold bench. The male student echoed along. Hearing the few of them humiliating Devil Class and Yi Luo, Yan Yu's heart was incomparably savage. She hated Yi Luo and hated her, Now that there was such a chance to humiliate Yi Qing Luo, she would absolutely not let it go. The few of them chimed in one after another, chatting happily. They were even discussing how to humiliate Yi Qing Luo when they met her later. After the three masters finished discussing their own matters, they then noticed that Yan Yu and the other students were huddled by the side, apparently extremely complacent. They frowned as their gazes turned towards a certain direction, just as they were about to open their mouths to stop Yan Yu and the rest. Another 2 students from the class of gods jogged over in exhaustion. Another 2 students from class of gods had completed the entire course. Yan Yu and the rest went up to them and passed them 2 water bags as they flattered each other. When the students from class of gods heard that devil class's students had not even seen their shadows, they started to laugh in ridicule. Previously, devil class's students had spouted nonsense and humiliated the entire class of gods. The truth had proven that devil class's students were a bunch of trash. They still had the cheek to be arrogant in front of them. Who knew where he got his confidence from? "You're running in front so you don't know," earlier. Devil class's leader, that little slut called Yi Qing Luo, was desperately pleading for my help, hoping that I could bring her out. After the male student finished drinking the water, he became energetic and began to brag. I didn't agree with her, but she actually wanted to use her face to seduce me. The male student patted his chest, his eyes filled with love as he looked at Yan Yu and said, "Everyone knows that I like student Yan Yu. She's just a slut, and she wants to seduce me. I just dumped her." The other students laughed mockingly, and their ambiguous gazes swept between the male student and Yan Yu. Yan Yu rolled her eyes as she arrogantly pushed the male student's face to one side. "I allow you to like me, but I've never agreed to be together with you. Since Yi Qing Luo wants to seduce you, just agree to it directly. At least that face of hers is indeed beautiful." The male student pressed his heart as if to show his loyalty. "My feelings for Yan Yu can be witnessed by the sun and the moon. I don't like the other shameless sluts." Chapter 22:35. The few students roared with laughter. Yan Yu's mood was lifted by the male student's boasting. Suddenly, a clear voice floated over from the spacious training ground. "Yo? This student, when did I tempt you to bring me out of the training forest? As the person involved, why don't I know about it?" This voice was extremely pleasing to the ears. But the words that came out were filled with an incomparably chilly chill. The few students who were still boasting instantly felt a chill down their spines as all their mocking voices were stuck in their throats. They saw a red figure leisurely walking out from the darkness at the corner of the training ground where the weapons rack was placed. The young lady's fine black hair was tied up tightly behind her head without a single strand of hair left. The red outfit clung tightly to her petite figure. Her body was drenched in sweat. But her expression didn't show any signs of fatigue. Instead, her lips were curled into a faint smile. When the few class of gods students' gazes fell onto Yi Qing Luo's face, they drew in a breath of cold air in disbelief. Yi Qing Luo? Why was she here? And the direction she walked out from was the opposite direction of the training ground's entrance. Which meant to say, didn't Yi Qing Luo just complete 50 kilometers of weight-bearing cross-country and return to the training ground? Instead, she had been here since long ago. No. Impossible. How could Yi Qing Luo possibly complete 50 kilometers of weight-bearing cross-country faster than them? You must have forfeited in advance, unable to complete this special training, so you returned to the training ground earlier. That boasting male student pointed at Yi Qing Luo as he took a few steps back in disbelief. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as her gorgeous face blossomed into a beautiful smile. How could I forfeit in advance? If I forfeit in advance, who is the lady who shamelessly pestered you and begged you to bring her out of the training forest? The male student's face turned pale. This was something he had casually boasted about. He didn't expect that the person in question would hear everything. However, when he saw the look in Yan Yu's eyes, the male student made up his mind. He clenched his teeth and said angrily, "Yan Yu, look at her. She admitted it herself. She shamelessly tried to seduce me into taking her away from the training forest. Yan Yu's face was sinister as his eyes were filled with viciousness. Yi Qing Luo, I don't care who you seduced to come back here, but special training is after all special training. Isn't it too disgusting for you to use such underhanded methods? Yes, it is indeed disgusting. Yi Qing Luo nodded in agreement, an alluring smile hung on her lips, but the chill in her eyes revealed a bone-chilling coldness. The quality of the students in the class of gods indeed disgusts me. You, Yi Qing Luo, you're still trying to quibble. When the male student saw that, he immediately reprimanded her angrily. I rejected your seduction and that means my quality isn't good enough? What kind of logic is this? Yi Qing Luo covered her mouth and smiled enchantingly. Her long and narrow eyes gazed at the male student with a light smile. Since the male student said that I seduced you earlier, then. Tell me, when did I seduce you? Just 1 hour ago, in the training forest. You couldn't run so you kept pestering me. The male student replied in a fluster. 1 hour ago? Yi Qing Luo's slender fingers brushed past her pink lips. Her posture was elegant and dignified, charming everyone. Chapter 2236. Half an hour ago? The male student's eyes widened in disbelief. You're talking nonsense. Half an hour ago. We were all in the actual combat training forest. How could you? How could it be? His face turned pale as he stared at Yi Qing Luo, unable to believe her words. It wasn't only this male student who couldn't believe it. The students from the class of God couldn't believe this fact. They, the students from the class of God, had carried weights for 50 kilometers and were not able to reach the training grounds within the allotted time. Devil class's waste, how could it be possible for them to be resting in the training grounds an hour earlier? Unless Yi Qing Luo gave up the special training midway. Yan Yu's pretty face turned pale, as though she had found an excuse. She stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo. Didn't the devil class spout nonsense, that you wouldn't be carried out of the training forest? Didn't you dare to challenge the master? You actually gave up the special training midway? If the devil class's students are so disinterested in the special training, then what's the point of coming to the class of God? The few students from the class of God immediately understood what was going on when they heard that. Yi Qing Luo must have given up the special training and returned to the training grounds early. He. Yi Qing Luo's throat emitted a soft laughter. It's not important whether I gave up the special training or not. What's important is that student, even if you're in the class of God all year round, living a high and mighty life, you should also know how important reputation is to a lady. She was still laughing. Her smile was brilliant, like a gorgeous rose that had bloomed. But that smile didn't reach her eyes. Just one look at her made one feel an indescribable cold wind seeping into their skin. It was extremely cold. The male student's legs turned to jelly as he looked at Yi Qing Luo, shivering. Yi Qing Luo took a step closer and smiled sweetly. You've ruined my reputation, spreading rumors about me. Tell me. How are you going to compensate me? An invisible pressure was released, pressing down in an overwhelming manner. The male student's pupils suddenly dilated, as though he had seen something shocking. He actually sat down on the ground. The other students from the class of God felt extremely embarrassed. Their faces were burning hot. No one was willing to help the male student up. Yan Yu looked at Yi Qing Luo's complacent look and clenched his fingers tightly as he raised his finger and pointed at Yi Qing Luo, speaking in a righteous manner. I understand Pei Huan's character very well. He's not someone who speaks irresponsibly. If this matter hadn't really happened, Pei Huan would absolutely not say that. The male student named Pei Huan saw that his goddess was speaking up for him. He nodded vigorously. That's right. I saw you in the training forest an hour ago. You were the one who seduced me and wanted me to take you out of the forest. You said that you were already resting in the training grounds an hour ago. Who can guarantee that after you gave up the special training, you intentionally sneaked into the training forest, hoping to find a student from the class of gods to be your backing? Yi Luo gave a cold humph. her eyes filled with disdain towards Yiqing Luo. When Yiqing Luo heard that, she burst out laughing with a pft sound. Why were all the students in the class of gods so retarded? Did they really think of themselves as the top student of the Heavenly Academy? She was so retarded that she didn't even want to complain. Yiqing Luo raised her eyelids lazily. She looked as though she couldn't be bothered to continue talking to them as she directly turned around and walked towards the corner of the weapon rack. Yan Yu's eyes turned red from anger. Yiqing Luo, are you angry from embarrassment? You have no excuse to rebuke, right? You're the trash from the devil class. Shut up. Chapter 22:37. Yan Yu and the rest of the students gritted their teeth as they lowered their heads. Fatty Master walked over. His perfectly round body shook as he walked. Yan Yu lowered her head and clenched her fists tightly as her body tensed up. Just as Fatty Master walked over. She couldn't take it anymore as she raised her head and looked at Fatty Master coldly. Fatty Master, I know what you want to say, but I have something in my heart that I must say. Fatty Master stopped in his tracks as he frowned slightly. He opened his mouth and was about to speak. Yan Yu interrupted again. The students from the devil class are here to undergo special training in the class of gods. However, the devil class doesn't even put the special training in their eyes. Not only did they give up on the special physical training, they even tried to bring the shameless vulgarity of the lower class to our class of gods, attempting to pollute our students. She stared at the fat teacher with determination and did not take his warning gaze to heart. Yan Yu really couldn't understand. Why did Fatty Master stop her and blame devil class? It was obviously devil class's fault. Why did Fatty Master still want to protect devil class? While they were arguing, 3 more students from the class of gods dragged their exhausted bodies over. Coincidentally, they heard Yan Yu's angry roar. A few of the students from the class of gods added fuel to the fire as they explained what had happened to the class of devils. Immediately, the students from class of gods started to despise devil class even more. Student Yan Yu. Teacher Yi saw that Yan Yu's words were getting more and more bitter as he called out to stop her. He had just opened his mouth when Yan Yu snatched the right to speak. Teacher Yi, I know what you want to say. I also know that from teacher's point of view, there are many things that are not convenient for you to say, but I will help you to say it. Teacher Yi. He was dumbstruck. He didn't even know what he wanted to say, so how did Yan Yu know? Yan Yu looked coldly at Yiqing Luo, who was sitting at the corner of the weapon rack and ridiculed. This morning, student Yiqing Luo had just arrived at class of God and pulled teacher Yi along, using Ghost Doctor's reputation to flatter him. Everyone in class of gods knows that teacher Yi and the Ghost Doctor have been good friends for many years. Student Yiqing Luo intentionally made use of Ghost Doctor to flatter teacher Yi. Wasn't it so that teacher Yi would take care of her? Thinking on a deeper level, student Yiqing Luo is trying to make use of the Ghost Doctor's reputation to make teacher Yi keep her in the class of gods. Yan Yu's words made the other class of gods students look at Yiqing Luo in disdain. Pointing towards Yiqing Luo's direction. His tone was filled with disdain. Teacher Yi's face darkened. They were wholeheartedly focused on guiding the students to improve their strength. But he had forgotten to teach his students how to behave. So, now Yan Yu did not care about the headmaster at all and could express his opinion on behalf of him at will? Listening to the discussions on the other side, Yiqing Luo gave them a bored look. Soon after, a lofty expression appeared on his face, as if he was looking down on an ant. This gaze immediately caused Yan Yu and the others to feel as if there was a ball of fire burning in their hearts. Yiqing Luo. What kind of expression is that? Don't tell me you still want to defend yourself? Yan Yu's voice was sharp as he howled in rage. Yiqing Luo tugged her pink lips as she elegantly stood up from the ground. She walked out from the dark corner once again. But, this time, the people who walked out from the dark corner were not only Yiqing Luo alone. And, those people from devil class. One after another, their footsteps were steady, confident and elegant as they appeared in front of everyone. Chapter 22:38. When they saw Devil Class's students appearing at the training grounds. Looks of disbelief appeared on the faces of the students of the class of gods. What was going on? Weren't they in the 50 kilometers of weighted cross-country training? Why were Devil Class's students all at the training grounds? They totally didn't look like they had run 50 kilometers. Could it be those Devil Class's students had all given up on the special training? Class of Gods students thought of themselves. In order not to let Devil Class's students see them as a joke, they had almost died of exhaustion in the actual combat training forest and had to clench their teeth to complete the entire course. But the Devil Class actually used this kind of attitude to treat their special training of the Class of Gods. No matter how they thought about it, their hearts couldn't be balanced. Quibble? I don't think I have anything to quibble about. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled up as she gave a charming smile, but I think. Student Yan, you'd better use your brain and think about how to quibble about it. Yan felt a dull pain in her heart from her smile as she had an indescribable uneasy premonition. Yan suppressed this strange feeling as she took a deep breath and retorted angrily, "What do you mean?" Regarding student Yan slander earlier, let's talk about it one by one slowly. Yi Qing Luo smiled calmly. She walked forward slowly and her footsteps were extremely stable. Her red outfit, which was like the blazing sun, accentuated her beautiful figure to the fullest. Every step she took and every move she took would set off a red afterimage, like a dream or fantasy. The young lady stood firmly in front of Yan. And she was at least 5 steps away from Yan. She caressed the side of her narrow sleeves, the dark golden devil word embroidery as her tone was calm like still water. Firstly, from the beginning till the end, I had never said that Devil Class had given up on the special training. Yi Qing Luo's aura was indeed so strong that it made one unable to withstand it. Yan was even more unable to withstand it. She looked at Yi Qing Luo as her pupils reflected Yi Qing Luo's tranquil and beautiful face. Don't tell me you're trying to say that Devil Class have all completed the special training? If they didn't give up on the special training, then the only way to appear at the training grounds was to complete the special training. But impossible. Class of Gods students all shook their heads. No one was willing to believe it. Devil Class, in the academy, had the nickname of Trash Class 1. Even if they won first place this year, it would just be luck. Most importantly, a 50-kilometer weight-bearing cross-country run. The students of the Class of Gods, who trained extremely hard every day, were already struggling. How could the Devil Class complete it? Even if they wanted to save face, they had to be realistic. Class of Gods students all looked towards Yi Qing Luo. But he saw Yi Qing Luo revealing a brilliant smile under all kinds of ridicule and puzzled gazes. It was as if she couldn't see the ridicule directed at her by the students of the Class of Gods. She smiled sweetly and said calmly, "Yes, I am." The students of the Class of Gods were dumbfounded. What is it? Wait. Earlier, Yan asked, "Don't tell me that Devil Class has completed the special training," and later on, Yi Qing Luo replied, "Yes." In other words, was Yi Qing Luo admitting that their Devil Class had completed the 50-kilogram load of cross-country? Did Yi Qing Luo really not intend to keep her face? Chapter 22:39. Yan staggered a few steps back. Her pupils widened as she shook her head in disbelief. "No. Impossible, Yi Qing Luo, are you still so thick-skinned, refusing to admit that you have given up the special training? You are just a waste from the lower class, a bunch of trash, how could it be possible?" As she was speaking, she suddenly thought of something as her eyes shot towards the gloomy faces of Teacher Yi and Fat Teacher. Yan directly blamed Yi Qing Luo for the two masters' ugly expressions. It must be Yi Qing Luo's shamelessness that had infuriated them. "Teacher, you are the most impartial. The first person to complete the 50 kilometers load run is me, isn't that right? Devil Class's students can't possibly complete such a super difficult physical training. As long as the teacher said so. He would definitely be able to give the devil class a hard slap on that slut Yi Qing Luo's face. In the Heavenly Academy, Yi Qing Luo could be arrogant for a while. But in the class of gods, anyone here could easily pinch Yi Qing Luo to death. What right did she have to strut around in the class of gods? Yan Yu clenched her teeth hatefully as she looked at the teachers with a hopeful gaze. The students in the class of gods also quietened down as they looked towards the teachers. Teacher Yi and Fat Teacher's faces remained gloomy. Their gloomy eyes glanced coldly at Yan Yu. Teacher Yi pursed his lips tightly as his expression turned cold as he looked at the students in the class of gods and said word by word, Devil class's students are the first batch to complete the 50 kilometers load run and return to the training ground. Moreover, you have completed the special training more than an hour earlier. Teacher Yi's words were like a lightning strike, striking into the students' hearts. The students only felt their vision turning black as their breathing quickened. What did Teacher Yi say? Devil class had completed the special training? More than an hour earlier? More than an hour earlier? The male student named Pei Huan thought back to the words he had boasted about. Yi Qing Luo had said from the start that he was already at the training ground an hour earlier. It was all true. Fat Teacher looked at the dumbstruck expressions of the students in the class of gods. His expression was dark and gloomy. He was really disappointed in these young students this time. After all, they were the students that he had taught personally. Who would have thought that he would be so ignorant of how to conduct himself? If this matter were to spread out, the high and mighty image of the class of gods would be completely destroyed. Today's special training, the few of us monitored the entire process. From the start to the end, the devil class's students did not cheat at all. They had truly completed the 50 kilometers weighted cross-country run. As the fatty master's words fell, the students of the class of gods fell to the ground, unable to accept what had just happened. They felt as if their pride had been ruthlessly crushed. They had followed the headmaster for so many years. Naturally, he was clear that these two teachers would never speak up for the devil class. This was indeed the truth. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a faint smile. That smile was bright and beautiful. However, for no reason at all, it caused a chill to run down one's spine, and one's body and mind immediately stiffened. Following this, let's talk about the matter regarding this student Pei, slandering me. Yi Qing Luo looked at Pei Huan smilingly, but there wasn't a hint of a smile in her eyes. Pei Huan's legs immediately turned to jelly as he stammered, I didn't. Chapter 2240. Class of Gods students' expressions congealed as they looked towards the masters. The masters nodded slightly and turned their heads away, not looking at them, as though they felt ashamed. Class of Gods students drew in a breath of cold air. The three masters had already testified. Obviously, what Pei Huan said was all lies. Class of Gods students, although they didn't like and despised the devil class. But in order to boast about his ability in front of Yan Yu, he actually slandered a young lady's reputation. If this matter was spread out without the master's testimonies, how was Yi Qing Luo going to conduct herself in the future? This kind of behavior was shameful to them. After all, to them, devil class was just a lower class, a waste who came for special training. Waste's various hoots, they would at most give them a slap on the face and not take it to heart. But Pei Huan's behavior was indeed a disgrace to the class of God. While everyone was using condemning gazes to stare fiercely at Pei Huan, Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she smiled calmly. Of course, if what student Pei said is true, then I have the right to suspect that someone is trying to ruin my reputation, disguising as me and sending out an invitation to you. As she said that, her long and narrow eyes squinted slightly. It was indescribably enchanting. It made one's heart palpitate. Class of Gods students could hear the chill in Yi Qing Luo's words. They could also tell that there was a hidden murderous intent in that pair of eyes. However, even though he clearly knew everything, he couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't help but sink under her charm. This feeling was too strange. Class of God's students' hearts couldn't help but tighten as they palpitated wildly. The entire crowd was silent. Yiqing Luo's smile deepened. Our devil class's students have always acted as a team from the start. Half an hour ago, we were resting here and no one left. That means to say, it's your class's students who disguised as me, trying to frame me. She paused as her gaze fixed on Yenyu, and the seniors in Class of God don't care about us foreign students. The only one who has been targeting me since I entered Class of God is only one person. Everyone subconsciously shifted their gaze onto Yenyu. Indeed, from the start to the end, Yenyu had always found devil class's Yiqing Luo an eyesore. It wasn't that he hated the demon class. But he only hated Yiqing Luo this person. Moreover, when he thought about it carefully. After they had returned from their special training, before they could even rest, they were pulled to join in the action of accusing the devil class. Wasn't this all started by Yenyu? Yenyu's face darkened. What are you all looking at me for? I've been burying my head in completing the special training. I don't have the time to plot against a piece of trash. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows. If it's not you, I really can't think of a second candidate, unless my enemy has sneaked into the Class of God. She knocked her head in a perplexed manner and turned to look at the two teachers behind her. Fat teacher, Teacher E, this concerns my reputation and the safety of the Class of God. I suggest that you investigate this thoroughly. Student Yiqing Luo. Teacher E frowned slightly and was about to persuade Yiqing Luo to resolve the matter. But when he met with Yiqing Luo's pair of sparkling eyes, his persuasion words were stuck in his throat, unable to spit out a single word. Chapter 22:41. You, who do you think you are? I didn't do that. Yenyu's pretty face turned colder. You're just a waste from the lower class. What right do you have to investigate me? Yiqing Luo raised her brows and nodded thoughtfully. That's true. Why don't we go to the faculty council and look for President C? Yenyu's pupils shrank. Yiqing Luo smiled again. President C is a student of the Class of Gods. He won't be biased. Yenyu's slender fingers curled up tightly, as if she couldn't wait to teach Yiqing Luo a lesson. How could she let the faculty council intervene in the affairs of the Class of Gods? Once the faculty council intervened, today's matter would be spread throughout the entire Heavenly Academy. The reputation of the Class of Gods would be completely ruined. Yenyu is so resistant to the investigation, could it be? Yiqing Luo opened her mouth and put on a surprised look. It's really, the word, you, hadn't left her mouth. With a thud, Pei Huan knelt in front of Fatty Teacher and Teacher E. He seemed to be unable to bear the torture and cried in a hoarse voice, Teacher, I know I'm wrong. I shouldn't have been so vain. I shouldn't have lied in front of Yenyu and slandered Yiqing Luo. The whole place was silent again. Pei Huan was the only one who continued to cry and repeat the words he had said. After a while, the fat master glanced at Yiqing Luo with his narrow eyes. Yiqing Luo, since Pei Huan has realized his mistake, Yiqing Luo glanced at Pei Huan who was kneeling on the ground and smiled innocently. Pei Huan is teacher's student. I have no opinion on how to deal with him. The fat master's words were stuck in his throat. She was his student. A student made such a mistake. As a teacher, he wouldn't let it go so easily. He was afraid that other students would follow suit. Yiqing Luo had no opinion on it. However, her words had completely blocked his way of exonerating Pei Huan. Then, Pei Huan will be punished with 1 month's worth of resources. All other resources will be cancelled. Teacher E closed his eyes and announced Pei Huan's punishment. Pei Huan's eyes widened in horror. Teacher E, spare me. Teacher E, spare me. You can hit me or scold me, but don't cancel my resources. No. Resources were equivalent to the elixirs, secret manuals, or cultivation methods provided by the Academy. Cultivating the profound rank. If he slacked off for a day or two, others would easily catch up to him. Let alone, a month's worth of resources. 1 month could be the difference of a grade, or even a mystic grade. Teacher E waved his hand, indicating for Pei Huan to leave. Pei Huan knew that it was hopeless to plead for leniency, so he suppressed the grief in his heart and stared at Yiqing Luo furiously before leaving dejectedly. Pei Huan's departure caused the atmosphere and the surroundings to turn strange. Yiqing Luo elegantly and indifferently tugged the corners of her lips as she looked at Yan Yu, the smile in her eyes spreading out. Next, let's talk about the third point. Yan Yu was frightened by her gaze and staggered backward. Yiqing Luo pressed forward. Her smile was as brilliant as a rose blooming, captivating one's soul. I'm very curious, why is student Yan Yu always making things difficult for me? Logically speaking, I'm just a student of the class of devils, and your high and mighty class of gods wouldn't even bother to interact with us. Chapter 2242. I'm jealous of you. Yan Yu seemed to have heard something funny and couldn't stop laughing. You're just trash from a lower class. Why would I be jealous of you? Yiqing Luo's brows rose in ridicule as her lips curled into a cold sneer. If it's not jealousy, then how do you explain why student Yan Yu has repeatedly targeted me? How did I target you? You're just trash from a lower class. What's there for me to target? Yan Yu roared angrily. Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders and spread out her hands. Could it be that I sensed wrongly? Her gaze swept across the students of the class of gods. Seeing this, the students from the class of gods looked away. It was obvious that he had tacitly agreed. Class of gods students could obviously feel that Yan Yu had been targeting Yiqing Luo. Yan Yu was so angry that her face turned white. I just didn't. In my eyes, you are nothing but an ant. Yiqing Luo burst out laughing. I wonder how student Yan Yu would feel after losing to an inferior class's trash, an ant in this special training? Yiqing Luo laughed out loud. You! Yan Yu's delicate body trembled in anger. Yiqing Luo didn't wait for her to finish her sentence as she snatched a step forward and laughed lowly. Student Yan Yu is even more useless than the lower class's waste, even more insignificant than an ant. No wonder student Yan Yu couldn't accept it in her heart, so her brain turned hot and her mouth was full of sh*t. Yan Yu's beautiful face twisted uncontrollably. The fury in his heart and hatred towards Yiqing Luo continued to spread. Yiqing Luo totally didn't give Yan Yu any chance to open his mouth. Her gaze was calm as she looked at teacher E. Student Yan Yu said that I used Master Ghost Doctor to achieve my goals. Not only is this an insult to me, it's also an insult to my Master Ghost Doctor. More importantly, it's an insult to the intellect of all the teachers here. Teacher Yi's eyes were deep as he sized up the calm-looking girl. His heart couldn't help but tighten. Looking at Yiqing Luo's solemn look. Could it be that she really was the Ghost Doctor's disciple? You still want to quibble? If you're the Ghost Doctor's disciple, then show me the evidence. Show me the evidence. What proof do you have, you're Ghost Doctor's disciple? Yan Yu pointed at Yiqing Luo hysterically. How could she be so calm? What right did she have to act as if victory was already in her grasp? Without any evidence, she would forever be a scheming B*tch who made use of the Ghost Doctor's reputation. Me. Suddenly, a deep and icy cold voice resounded. That voice wasn't loud, but it contained a terrifying aura. Everyone was taken aback and looked in the direction of the voice. An old man dressed in apothecary robes slowly walked over. The old man was upright and meticulous from head to toe. He exuded an incomparably noble demeanor, the demeanor of an expert. Following his steps, everyone could clearly smell the faintly discernible scent of herbs coming from the old man's body. It was refreshing, but not too strong. It didn't smell bitter. Instead, it made one feel refreshed and tired. This is the Ghost Doctor? Class of Gods students stared blankly at the approaching old man as the two words, Ghost Doctor, appeared in their minds. These students from Class of God, in order to show that they were different from the other classes in the Heavenly Academy, had always been cooped up in class of God, unwilling to interact with those trash. Occasionally, for the sake of the Academy's limelight, they would make an appearance. But he did not look in the direction of the devil class. Teacher E felt a headache coming on. He coughed dryly and said, "It's just a joke between the students. It's just a small matter, don't take it to heart." Small matter? The ghost doctor finally spoke, her voice deep and cold. Teacher E was well aware that this was the precursor to the ghost doctor's wrath. He furrowed his brows, feeling a headache coming on. "I'll deal with this. You should know that the students of the class of gods aren't friendly to students from other classes. As for that student, I'm sure he just wanted to establish himself in the class of gods, so he used the wrong method." The ghost doctor scoffed coldly. Teacher E only felt that the surrounding air had turned colder by several degrees. When Fatty Teacher saw that, he hurriedly put on a smile and walked over. "Ghost doctor, what old E said is right. They're all kids, don't be too calculative. It's rare for you to come over and we haven't gathered for a long time. Why don't we go to the backyard for a drink?" Chapter 2244. The whole place was silent. Teacher Yi's hand, which was reaching for the ghost doctor, froze in midair. The fat teacher's smiling face stiffened. The surrounding students sucked in a breath of cold air, incomparably shocked. What did the ghost doctor say? His disciple? Disciple? Yi Qing Luo was really ghost doctor's disciple? Just when everyone was filled with doubts, Devil Class's 10 students all surrounded Ghost Doctor, as they greeted him with a beaming face. "Sir Ghost Doctor, you're finally here. If you didn't come, our Qing Luo would be bullied to death." Yan Xiao Yi intentionally leaned closer to Ghost Doctor's side, as she gave Yan Yu a meaningful look. "That's right, Sir Ghost Doctor. Some students in the class of gods kept on insulting our Qing Luo, saying that she is a little slut who uses your reputation to cheat others. They feel that our devil class doesn't have any backing and we can't win against them." A few devil class students nodded their heads in agreement. Each of them was more aggrieved than the other. The flames around the ghost doctor's body grew increasingly cold. The students of the class of gods shuddered involuntarily. Normally, no matter how high and mighty they were, no matter how proud they were. However, when facing powerful seniors like the headmaster, he would still listen to them obediently. Now that the ghost doctor was angry, the students of the class of gods knew that they were in the wrong and lowered their heads, not daring to make a sound. Teacher E was stunned as well. He watched helplessly as Ghost Doctor turned around, walking towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. The devil class students all opened up a path. In a direction that the Ghost Doctor couldn't see, they looked towards Yan Yu. The grievance on their faces was replaced by pity and sympathy. Anger invaded Yan Yu's limbs and bones. Her face was malevolent as she stared venomously at Yi Qing Luo. Unable to believe that Ghost Doctor was really real, he walked towards Yi Qing Luo. This group of trash. What right did he have to look at her like that? Why should he pity her, sympathize with her? She was a student of the high and mighty class of gods. He was a talented, profound practitioner who could ascend to the upper realm in the future. What right did this bunch of trash have to look down on her? But, Yan Yu saw with his own eyes, Ghost Doctor walked to Yi Qing Luo's side. Raising his hand, which had always been used to refining pills, he rubbed Yi Qing Luo's head. "Little Luo, I'm not here and you start to cause trouble?" The Ghost Doctor's voice was still very cold, but anyone could tell that this kind of coldness, compared to the coldness she had shown to the others earlier, was like a completely different person. Yi Qing Luo rubbed against Ghost Doctor's palm as she revealed a sweet smile. "I'm an obedient and well-behaved student who has never created any trouble." The Ghost Doctor rolled her eyes at her. "How do you want to deal with this matter?" Yi Qing Luo raised her brows and looked at Teacher E. The three masters were stunned by the scene in front of them. The students of the devil class had completed the 50 kilograms weight run an hour earlier. They were already very shocked and astonished. Today, the news of Yiqing Luo being Ghost Doctor's disciple had been personally verified by Ghost Doctor himself. Furthermore, the Ghost Doctor, who had always been afraid of trouble, had personally come to the class of gods to support his disciple. It could be seen that the Ghost Doctor truly doted on her little disciple. This lady called Yiqing Luo. Just where did she come from? Now, Ghost Doctor actually wanted to ask Yiqing Luo how to deal with these people who had wrongly accused her and slandered her. Directly bypassing these few masters. It could be seen that Ghost Doctor was really infuriated. Chapter 22:45. Yiqing Luo's words also successfully stopped the masters from pleading on behalf of their students. Ghost Doctor had personally come to support his disciple. If they didn't punish this student who had been targeting Ghost Doctor's disciple, that would be not giving Ghost Doctor any face. Although they were all experts who came down from the upper realm. But in front of Ghost Doctor, they were nothing. The three masters' expressions stiffened as they hurriedly stepped forward. The three of us will handle this matter properly and will not be biased. Ghost Doctor's face was gloomy as he gave a cold snort. The three masters lowered their heads as they stared at Yanyu hatefully. Yanyu felt as though something had exploded in her brain. It was as if something had collapsed. Her vision turned black as she fell limply onto the ground. The students who had always been on good terms with Yanyu didn't dare to step forward to help her, afraid that Yiqing Luo's anger would be directed to them. Yi Luo bit her lower lip as she looked at Yanyu, wanting to step forward but not daring to. Yiqing Luo sneered as she took in the entire scene. She scoffed lightly as her eyes were filled with disdain and despise towards Yanyu. No matter if it was the Heavenly Academy or this self-proclaimed high and mighty class of gods. It was inevitable for them to be the same as ordinary people. This was human nature. No matter how they were on good terms and treated each other honestly, once it involved their own interests, they would fall out faster than flipping a book. Hurry and carry her down. Teacher Yi glanced at the group of students who were trembling in fear. This group of students only knew how to bully the weak and fear the strong. Usually their eyes grew on top of their heads. In front of Ghost Doctor, all of them were frightened to such an extent. The masters expressed that it was shameful to have taught such a student. Those students actually turned their gazes towards Ghost Doctor. Although they were taught not to understand the ways of the world. But he saw that the three masters were all extremely respectful towards the Ghost Doctor. They knew clearly that this Ghost Doctor was the real boss. Ghost Doctor didn't say anything, so they didn't dare to carry Yanyu. This action caused the faces of the three teachers to darken. Not waiting for Ghost Doctor to open his mouth, Yiqing Luo had already laughed out. Fatty teacher, Teacher Yi, Teacher Shen, although teaching students to raise their abilities and becoming strong is the most crucial thing. But how should I put it? This is the principle of being a human, it's time to teach him. The faces of the masters darkened even more. But due to the Ghost Doctor's presence, he didn't dare to flare up. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes swept across their expressions and couldn't help but let out a light laugh. This is the class of God, the three masters are the real masters of the class of God. My master is just a guest. As the students of the class of God, you're trying to take advantage of my master's mood. Where are the faces of the three masters? Even though she was smiling, it was a smile. However, his voice was powerful and resonant, causing people to be shocked. She let go of the Ghost Doctor's arm, her gaze calm and indifferent as it swept over the students of the class of gods. Perhaps it was because the Ghost Doctor was present. Or perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo's aura was too majestic. The students of the class of gods instinctively lowered their heads. Yanyu was so infuriated that she was trembling. I'm not teaching you anything, I just want you to know clearly who your masters are, who have always been teaching you, who gave you the right to be so arrogant and supercilious. Yiqing Luo's voice was calm without any undulations. This voice caused everyone to tremble. The group of people looked in the direction of the sound. Then, he saw an old man dressed in a white robe rushing over like the wind. The old man was different from the ghost doctor's meticulousness. He had dry hair that seemed to be combed neatly but was actually a mess. His white robe hung loosely on his body, and his expression was ferocious like a crazy old man. He rushed to Yiqing Luo's side and stretched out his hand to hug her. Yiqing Luo almost couldn't breathe. Teacher Shenqing looked at the person in shock and stammered, Sir Guiyu, my lord? The students sucked in a breath of cold air. What kind of person could make Teacher Shenqing, who had always been lazy and did not care about anything, to be so respectful and even be called Lord? When they heard the two words, Guiyu, the other two teachers' expressions changed immediately. Sir Guiyu. Chapter 2247. Master Guiyu, you. Why are you here? Master Yi swallowed his saliva as he looked at Guiyu and Yiqing Luo in disbelief. They had heard of it before. Guiyu was eyeing Ghost Doctor's disciple. Today they saw this scene. They deeply understood that those words were not fake. Guiyu valued Yiqing Luo very much. What magic did this young lady called Yiqing Luo have? She actually made Ghost Doctor and Guiyu, these two old men who would never fancy anyone and wanted to take anyone as their disciple, to protect her so passionately. Of course, the three masters didn't deny it. Yiqing Luo's current performance was indeed outstanding. Even more outstanding than the students in the class of gods that they had painstakingly taught. But at this level, Ghost Doctor and Guiyu shouldn't be so protective of her, right? Moreover, the Ghost Doctor and the Ghost Doctor, these two seniors, were present. It was natural for Yiqing Luo to be so outstanding. Guiyu snorted as he glanced at the three masters with a cold smile. He could tell what they were thinking at one glance. He smiled coldly as his shriveled lips twitched. I heard that my last Luo suffered a grievance when she came to the class of gods for special training. If I didn't come, wouldn't my last Luo die of grievance? Master Yi and Fat Master broke out in cold sweat. The students in the class of gods also straightened their backs. Yiqing Luo wanted to raise her hand several times, weakly expressing that even if they didn't come, she wouldn't let herself suffer. But seeing old man Guiyu's protective look, Yiqing Luo smiled warmly. Right now, she was no longer alone. She had someone who would protect her. She wasn't fighting alone. I heard that this student feels that last Luo is using my reputation to stay in the class of gods. Ghost Doctor's malicious gaze swept towards Yanyu. Yanyu, who was sprawled on the ground, felt as though she had been targeted by a venomous snake. She shivered and didn't dare to say a word. Seeing this, Mr. Yi hurriedly explained, "Please don't be angry, sirs. This is a misunderstanding. As you know, the students of the other classes have always yearned for the class of gods. They've been thinking of ways to squeeze into it. Our last Luo is in the devil class, not any other class." Old man Guiyu did not have much patience. If Luo wanted to enter the class of gods, she would have been qualified to do so not long after she entered the academy. The students of the class of gods were shocked. He had just been admitted to the hospital and he already had the qualifications? How was this possible? Even if old man Yu wanted to stand up for Yiqing Luo, there was no need to use such a method, right? He had boasted too much. It was obvious that he was bragging. One had to know that students like them had all been selected through layers of selection. Their aptitudes and talents were outstanding, and they were above average people in every aspect. It had taken them almost 2 years to successfully enter the class of gods. The Ghost Doctor's cold gaze swept over them. Her voice was cold, but powerful. "Whether or not the lass really has the qualifications to enter the class of gods, I'm sure the 3 elders can go to the elders department, or you can ask the faculty council's president C. You'll know. Lass Luo refused to enter the class of gods because of her brothers and the group of children in the class of devils. But I feel that Luo Yu was right to reject me back then. If Luo Yu was allowed to grow up in this kind of atmosphere, how could our last Luo have such a metamorphosis now? Old man Gue Yu had never thought of giving others face when he spoke. Master Yi was too ashamed to show his face, but there was nothing he could refute. They all knew. Chapter 22:48. If he wanted to end this situation, he could only start from Yiqing Luo. Teacher Yi turned his gaze to Yiqing Luo and chuckled. Student Yiqing Luo, I am also responsible for the misunderstanding. The students from the class of gods were rude to the devil class, and I can't get away from it. All these are my fault, I assure you that there will not be a next time. His attitude was very sincere. It wasn't that he was trying to protect the students and push all the blame onto himself. He had indeed realized that as a teacher, he had not taught his students well, and under the circumstances where there was no evidence, he had accused the foreign students of cheating. Yiqing Luo actually admired Teacher Yi's way of doing things. Even if Teacher Yi wanted to protect the students from the class of gods, it was reasonable. The students from the class of gods to Teacher Yi was equivalent to her to Ghost Doctor and Gue Yu. It was human nature to protect one's shortcomings. Of course, Yiqing Luo understood that it was human nature. But it didn't mean that she would let this matter rest just because of Teacher Yi's plea. She had said that in order to have a good and quiet training in the class of gods for the next 1 month, she had to nip off all the sprouts that had yet to grow. Kill the chicken to warn the monkey. Today she would be more arrogant and troublesome. It would be much easier in the future. Teacher Yi, from your point of view, it's normal for you to suspect my identity and motive. Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly, her eyes were sparkling and filled with tranquil ripples. Under the calm gaze of that pair of eyes, Teacher Yi felt cold sweat trickling down his back for no reason. Yiqing Luo continued to smile, but, how can you be 100% sure that they will not target the devil class? Saying that, Yiqing Luo pointed towards the direction of the students from the class of gods. Because of the arrival of Gue Yu and Ghost Doctor, the students who had originally wanted to give up in the training forest rushed over with the help of their classmates. Yiqing Luo's finger pointed at the entire class of gods, 16 students. Teacher Yi was stunned. The other 2 teachers were also slightly stunned and immediately looked away, unable to be sure. The students from the class of gods were taught by them. The teachers naturally understood their temperaments. If it was really because of Gue Yu and the Ghost Doctor that these students would not go against the devil class, this was absolutely impossible. Where I can see it, they can make sure. But they couldn't guarantee that these students wouldn't secretly take revenge on the devil class. They understood the arrogance of the class of gods. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved into a smile. Teacher, I don't have any intention to make things difficult for you. I just simply hope that our devil class's special training is just a special training, without any other factors. Not only will it affect the progress of our special training, it will also affect the class of God, isn't it? Teacher Yi was rendered speechless by his words. He wiped off the sweat on his forehead. What student Yiqing Luo said is right, the students in the class of gods also think so. Special training is special training, this is the ladder to raise one's own ability. Disrupting the special training is also disrupting themselves. Teacher Yi's words were a clear attempt to reason with the students of the class of gods. The students of the class of gods were all very perceptive, and immediately replied in unison, we promise, we will coexist peacefully with the devil class. Chapter 22:49. Immediately, a student echoed, that's right, student Yiqing Luo, we are very clear on how important the special training is to us. We admit that although we aren't particularly passionate about the devil class, we don't have any intention to purposely target you. There were also a few students from the class of God who wanted to say, before the Ghost Doctor and Gue Yu appeared. They didn't put the devil class in their eyes at all and were totally disdainful, so they purposely played with the devil class. After that, he followed Yan Yu's words and condemned the devil class. They were merely misled by someone with ulterior motives. Yiqing Luo didn't make things difficult for those students. She had no interest in taking advantage of her position to bully others. She only wanted to bully the weak. Yiqing Luo went along with those students' evasive words as she gave a long "oh" and intentionally dragged out the ending sound. That "oh" shocked everyone and gave them goosebumps. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she gave an indifferent smile, as what all the students have said, then. I'm even more curious, why is student Yan Yu so dissatisfied with me? Everyone turned to look at Yan Yu in unison. Yan Yu only felt that everyone's gaze was like a burning fire, burning her whole body. She stared furiously at Yiqing Luo. It was all because of Yiqing Luo. It's all because of this slut. He had caused her to experience such a predicament. In the class of gods, she might not be the most outstanding student. Nevertheless, he was Teacher Yi's favorite student. Moreover, her beauty made her even more popular among the people. How could she become so embarrassing? It was all Yiqing Luo's fault. The more he thought, the more Yan Yu's hatred towards Yiqing Luo grew. This was hatred. Even the onlookers who were standing at the side could see it clearly. The ghost doctor and old man Yu snorted coldly. If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo holding them back, the both of them would have rushed up and slapped that scum who dared to glare at their Luo lass to death. Teacher Yi's forehead was drenched in cold sweat. Yan Yu's talent was great, and she was also smart. He had always thought highly of this student. Who would have thought that he would become so stupid today? In front of Ghost Doctor and Guiyu, he still dared to show such an expression towards Yiqing Luo? Yan Yu. Teacher Yi gritted his teeth and shouted out Yan Yu's name. Answer me properly. Previously, did you know student Yiqing Luo? That roar caused Yan Yu to suddenly return to his senses. She pursed her pale lips and shook her head. I don't know him. Then why have you repeatedly targeted Yiqing Luo? Teacher Yi's brows knitted tightly. Yan Yu clenched her fists, but loosened them weakly. I didn't target. Bullshit. Old man Guiyu spat. Just from the way you look at our Luo girl, I want to slap you to death. Do you think I'm blind? Not targeted yet? If you don't tell me the truth, I'll kill you right now. Yan Yu was so scared that he started trembling. Her eyes reddened and tears welled up in her eyes. However, her pitiful appearance did not arouse anyone's sympathy or pity. Yan Yu, just get straight to the point. What kind of grudge do you and student Yiqing Luo have? Don't hold up all the students because of your own matters. Exactly. We've run for 50 kilometers and now we just want to rest, all right? Just because of your jealousy, you have to drag the entire class to stand here with you. We're not blind, we can all tell that you and student Yiqing Luo have a huge grudge. I'm also curious, is it really because you're jealous that student Yiqing Luo is prettier than you, so you've been targeting her? Chapter 2250. Class of Gods students couldn't help but tried to persuade her. They had been running for an entire afternoon and were tired, thirsty, and hungry. They couldn't wait to return to their own rooms to rest. But because of Yan Yu's problem, they were stuck at the training ground. The grumbles and complaints in their hearts were dragged on. Anyone with a discerning eye could see it. Yiqing Luo didn't even bother about being slandered. She only wanted to know the truth. She wanted to know why Yan Yu was targeting her. Yan Yu still didn't say anything, pretending to be pitiful. The more they looked, the more anxious they got. Yan Yu bit her lower lip hard. Blood seeped out from her pale lips. She didn't seem to notice it. Why did all the students come to condemn her? It was obviously Yiqing Luo's fault. It was obviously Yiqing Luo who was creating trouble out of nothing. Why were they still blaming her? Was it because that slut had great abilities and had two big backers? She was not convinced. Student Yan Yu is unwilling to answer. Why not let me guess? Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she slowly walked towards Yan Yu. Yiqing Luo's steps were elegant and imposing. Yan Yu was so shocked that her body trembled even more violently. Yiqing Luo stared at her trembling petite body as she tilted her head and smiled. Student Yan Yu, are you feeling guilty? I haven't done anything and you're so afraid. Yan Yu bit her lips and didn't refute. May I ask the students in class of God, how is student Yan Yu and that student Zi Qianqian's relationship? Yiqing Luo didn't beat around the bush and directly asked a question. When the three words, Zi Qianqian, came out from Yiqing Luo's mouth, Yan Yu's eyes flickered a few times. The expression on her face was slightly shocked. The other students couldn't wait to end this, so naturally they didn't hide anything. Yan Yu is Zi Qianqian's cousin and the two sisters have a very good relationship. They usually love to stick together and Yan Yu loves Zi Qianqian very much. Student Zi Qianqian loves to go to the lower class, I heard. She's also known as the #1 beauty in Heavenly Academy, Fairy Qianqian? Right, I remember she even joined a mercenary group. I heard this time, it seems to be Yan Yu's idea for Zi Qianqian to take part in the Heavenly Academy's annual interclass competition. The students were all talking at once. At this point, they seemed to have realized something, and their jaws dropped in shock. Right, the interclass competition. Could it be that Yiqing Luo had ruthlessly abused Zi Qianqian in the interclass competition? Zi Qianqian had yet to return to the class of gods. So, Yan Yu was helping Zi Qianqian vent her anger? Yiqing Luo heard the answer she wanted to know from those noisy and messy voices, as she nodded her head in understanding. Student Yan Yu is really a good sister. Yan Yu's face turned pale. She curled her fingers and lowered her head. Her messy hair covered her face. It also covered up the hatred on her face. If it's because of Zi Qianqian, I think I should explain. Yiqing Luo looked at Yan Yu smilingly, but student Yan Yu's love for your own sister is so deep, I don't know if you can take it, what I'm going to say next. Yan Yu suddenly raised his head. Chapter 22:51. She died because of me? Yiqing Luo was amused as she repeated this sentence. How Zi Qianqian died, the entire Heavenly Academy students know it clearly. Your master must have received the news too. Yan Yu looked at her casual smile and the anger in his eyes burned even more. Yes. Qianqian wasn't killed by you, but you caused her death. If it wasn't for you, Qianqian wouldn't have died. Yan Yu's hoarse voice made Yiqing Luo laugh. She finally understood why Yan Yu hated her. So it was to stand up for his cousin's sister. And the other students in the class of God had a change of expression when they heard these words. Zi Qianqian is dead? Isn't she doing well in the school? How could she be dead? Yan Yu was killed by Yiqing Luo? What's going on? The surroundings were bustling with discussion about Zi Qianqian's death. Hearing the news of Zi Qianqian's death from the crowd, Yan Yu's facial features turned more and more sinister. Silence. Seeing this, Teacher E immediately roared coldly, "What are you guys making a ruckus for?" The students quietened down. Teacher E took a look at Yan Yu and sighed. Yan Yu, I already know about Qianqian's death. Yan Yu's scarlet eyes stared at Teacher E. You also want to say that this is Qianqian's fault? This was the first time Teacher E saw Yan Yu disregarding his image. He frowned slightly and turned his gaze to Yiqing Luo. They indeed knew about Zi Qianqian's death. But they had not expected that the female hero who exposed Zi Qianqian's collaboration with the dark forces and saved the students of the various academies, was actually this 15-year-old young lady. Zi Qianqian and Yan Yu's relationship was very close. As teachers, they could see it clearly. He expressed his understanding for Yan Yu to lose control. But, Teacher E sighed again, although Qianqian's death is related to Yiqing Luo, but it is true that she deserved to die and no one can be blamed for it. He paused and his face turned solemn. If it was me, I would make the same decision as Yiqing Luo. That's a student you taught yourself. Yan Yu roared. It's precisely because she's my student that I can't let her go down the wrong path. Since you're wrong, you should be punished. Teacher E knitted his brows tightly. Looking at Yen Yu's obviously insane appearance, he sternly stopped her from roaring and retorting. Yen Yu, you're a smart student and you should be able to differentiate between right and wrong. If you insist on blaming Zi Qianxian's mistake and implicate Yi Qing Luo, then I can only send you to High Profound Class 2. Yen Yu's face was pale as he knelt on the ground in a daze. Send him to High Profound Class 2. The meaning was, kick her out of the class of gods. She wasn't wrong, she just wanted to seek justice for her sister. Qian Qian was killed by Yi Qing Luo. Why was she the one to be punished in the end? For Yi Qing Luo, Teacher E actually wanted to chase her out of the class of gods. That bitch. Yen Yu. Seeing the growing hatred in Yen Yu's eyes, Teacher E was exasperated. Did she really want to go to High Profound Class 2? Even now, he still couldn't figure out the problem. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.